Hello, friends. This is Rosina Snow. I'm the Director of Communications here at Virginia Interfaith Power and Light, and I welcome you to another episode of Environmental Justice Now. Before we start today, I'd like to do a brief land acknowledgement. We should remind ourselves that we are on the unceded land of the indigenous peoples, and I'm joining you from Richmond, Virginia. I'm on the land of the Powhatan and Chickahominy peoples. And if you were unsure whose land you were on, you can visit Native Land, that I will put that link below here. Right. And so today's topic, I think when most of us think of gold mining, the first thing that comes to mind might be some 19th century prospector panning for gold out in California. But now in 2023, we apparently need to be dealing with prospectors who want to turn parts of Virginia into open pit gold mines. This was pretty shocking to me when I first heard about it. So I'm really eager to hear from our guest, Kenda Hanuman, who has been active with Friends of Buckingham County for a number of years now. She co-founded Friends of Buckingham in 2014 with the mission to protect the natural environment and cultural heritage of Buckingham County. And she's worked in numerous facets supporting environmental justice and the community of Union Hill. When the Atlantic Coast Pipeline project was canceled, it was, we'll talk more about that later, but the community fought that, and then the pipeline was canceled. And then she heard from a neighbor in June of 2020, though, that there was a Canadian company exploring gold drilling in the area. And so she began to research the implications of an open pit mine in Buckingham County, Virginia. And, she served on the HB 2213 Impacts of Gold Mining in Virginia State Agency Committee, and currently joins with the many Friends of Buckingham allies from the previous Atlantic Coast Pipeline resistance organizations to oppose the full implications of what large-scale industrial gold mining would mean for Buckingham County and the entire Commonwealth of Virginia. So I'd like to welcome Kenda Hanuman today. How are you?
Thank you, Rosina. I'm well. I appreciate it. I come from the unceded lands of the Monacans here in Buckingham County. And one thing you said about us thinking that gold mining was gold rush in California. Well, what many people don't know is it started here in Buckingham County. We have a big historic sign in Dillwyn, which is the only town with a stoplight that we've got here in Buckingham. And it's recognizing the gold mining. So we have over 80 closed mines here in Buckingham, where the miners came with their picks and shovels and donkeys and looked for gold.
Wow, I did not know that. Okay, so here we are again, full circle. So I wanted to back up a little bit and talk about Friends of Buckingham and that organization, how it came to be, and sort of the history of that, because it's I think it's such a powerful story, one of the most powerful stories in Virginia in the past, decade or so. Also, I'm going to quickly close the door because there's some office noise coming. I'll be back in like 5 seconds. Thank you. So if you wouldn't mind sharing a bit about the history of Friends of Buckingham and what you've been working on the past 10 years. And also I'd be interested to know who is in this coalition.
Sure. We've had so many wonderful allies. It's totally been grassroots. All the people that joined in here that cared about the area, and especially the success that we had when we went to recognizing that this was an environmental justice community. We pretty much have Dr. Lakshmi Fjord to thank for getting that started. We did door-to-door surveys just to find out in the Union Hill area, because Dominion in their hopes of having a compressor station in that area, were saying that there's nobody living there. So they apparently had some misinformation, but
Or
we found,
nobody who we care about, maybe.
what'd you say?
Was there no one there, or just no one who they cared about?
Good question. Seems to be the latter, but they wouldn't admit that, of course. But we proved there were many people living in that area. I think we had 83 people that homes that we visited, different ones of us, people from Richmond, Charlottesville, and other areas joined with us, and we went door to door and filled out surveys. So it definitely showed that this was not just a box to be checked, that these were people. And consequently, Dominion ended up canceling the pipeline in July of 2020. So we felt really relieved. We fought long and hard. And as you said, we had so many good allies. SELC, Southern Environmental Law Center, were the ones that were representing us in court in the fourth, where the decision finally came down that the judge said, environmental justice is just not a box to be checked. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And I'm curious what you think were some of the other factors that went into the success of that movement. I mean, having good representation is important. I know that Virginia Interfaith Power and Light, we joined in some actions and kind of amplified what you're doing. Many groups were helping as well. But what do you think were some of the unique factors that made that grassroots effort successful?
Well, I think that it was the fact that we didn't give up. We had defeats in different courts, and we just didn't take that as the final word. We knew that we were right, and we were standing for what was right, and we didn't give up.
That's a really important message.
Mm-hmm.
There are people fighting similar fights all over the country, facing setbacks. And now we have this new challenge. So I gave a little bit of background, but would you mind telling us, for those who are like, what's gold mining now? What is this all about? What information can you give us about what's happening?
Well, there's a company out of Canada called Aston Bay Holdings. They were the ones that it turned out were doing exploratory drilling in the neighborhood between Union Hill, which was the one that we were working with for stopping the compressor station in the ACP, and also Warminster, which is another environmental justice area, and the historic African American church was there. So it was right between the two. There were like 3 African American churches within, I don't know, walking distance of where they were doing this drilling. And it was on forested land. It was owned by Weyerhaeuser, and they had brought in geologists because they had found quartz outcroppings, and that's usually a sign of where there will be gold as well. And they found substantial amounts of gold there. Not the type of gold where you just pick up a chunk, but the type of gold where you would crush vast amounts of soil and then pour cyanide over the mountain that you had extracted and take the gold that adhered to the cyanide and then process it and end up. And that's what's happening in current gold mining industry, that's what they find. It's very fine gold, but it's enough if they use that technique.
Wow, that sounds not good.
No, we found on one of our handouts, we explained that there would be 10 giant truckloads full of soil to get 1 ounce of gold, which would be the equivalent of a wedding band.
Wow. So they basically just want to plow through your home where you live, pour a bunch of poison on it, and to extract, some wealth for themselves.
Yes, and it's near the James River, so that was a major concern as well, not only the neighborhood it was in, but so often these things, they call them tailings dams when they pile up that soil. And when there's large amounts of rain, they often break. There's about a 90% chance, I believe, of them having some sort of leakage. And when they break, everything that's been stored inside rushes out. There was a number of videos available. If people go to the Friends of Buckingham website, we have really good resources that you can follow all these things. You can watch videos. You can follow what's been going on with the gold mining for the last 3 going on 4 years.
Yeah. And I watched one of those videos that you sent to me, and there's a doctor who talks about some of the just horrible health effects that this kind of mining can have on the entire environment, but certainly on people, and that it can, lead to higher rates of cancer. But I think what was of most concern to her was its effects on children, the effects on women who are pregnant, on, contributing to lower birth rates, contributing to birth, disabilities, and just protecting the health of the children in the community seems like that just should be enshrined as a right that the community holds. So this is a pretty shocking set of implications, health implications. And then also she said that even after the mine is gone, those particles, like that poison, stays in the environment for a really long time.
Yeah, forever. That's what happens. You get the acid mine drainage when they pull up all of these minerals from below the surface. Then what happens is you get sulfuric acid as it hits the water and the air, and that never goes away. All they can do is try to maintain it, but that means that somebody's going to be paying that forever.
Yeah.
They talk about forever chemicals. Well, that would be one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we especially, besides the children and the health issues, are concerned about the water.
Yeah.
SELC did a wonderful mapping of all the downwater systems. And if these tailings dams ever did break and went into the James River, it would not only be people along the immediate James River, but it would be all the water bodies connecting and beyond, because this gold pyrite belt that Aston Bay Holdings has identified goes from Fairfax County to Halifax. So basically the entire length of the state. So if they did mining anywhere along there, all of these other water bodies would be impacted.
Yeah, and I have a map here that I'm going to try and show. I think it will. There we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
So if you want to tell us a little bit about what we're looking at with this map, the orange part that's where the pyrite deposits are. Is that right?
That's right. It's the gold pyrite belt.
Mm-hmm. And then you're around here, in the middle. I guess people can't see me with a mouse or anything, but you can see where Buckingham County is, and you can see all the waterways that this crosses. I mean, it basically affects like most of the state.
That's exactly right, because water doesn't just stay in one place, does it?
No, it does not.
So people can see that map on the Friends of Buckingham website as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a number of interactive maps and shows you the areas impacted and the representatives in our government that are in those areas. And we have had really surprising support, maybe. Delegate Guzman was the first representative to help with House Bill 2213,
Mm-hmm.
which went before the General Assembly in 2021. That's when we ended up getting the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine to do a 1-year study on what gold mining would be and how it would impact Virginia. So there's a full over 200-page study because they took many public inputs as well as their pretty much monthly webinars with their experts reporting on it all. And then also the Virginia Energy, which was DMME, was requested to also do a study. So it took a year. I was on that study with Virginia Energy, and we had monthly meetings and recordings of all of those meetings, including the experts that we tried to bring in. We recommended to NASEM that they have certain experts that we had researched, and they didn't invite or pick any of them. They had their own ideas of who they were going to present information from. So on the Virginia Energy monthly calls or webinars, we did get to have some of those experts, and there's some really wonderful reports that shed a lot of light on the whole process. So that happened in 2021, and then in 2023, Delegate Simons had put forth a bill. Do you have that in front of you, Rosina?
I don't.
It's House Bill 1722.
Mhm.
It was going forward very successfully, really good bipartisan approval. And this was to restrict cyanide use in any mining. But at the last minute, that was pulled, and so it didn't go through. So we are hoping that there will be legislation in this upcoming session that will address some of the main concerns that were brought up by the National Academy of Sciences, especially including the threats to our water.
Is legislation the best way to prevent this project, or are there other ways? And also, how far along is the project at this point?
It's the project, as far as what Aston Bay is doing, they have been very distracted. They're in Canada right now with a big project mining copper. So they have not come back, although they constantly report on their website that they're going to start again. Quarter after quarter passes, and that doesn't happen. What they have done, unfortunately, and this goes beyond the gold mining, they've gone down to the Pennsylvania County area and begun exploring for critical minerals. So copper, lead, and zinc for the EV industry.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a big concern about how that, because the copper mining is pretty akin to gold mining.
Right. And is there a concern that, if they were able to if they found success in their designs in Buckingham County, is there concern that they would then start doing this in many or multiple locations in Virginia, that they would not stop?
Well, that's the possibility, since that belt extends that whole distance from the north to the south.
Yeah.
And also that they would begin looking at the critical mineral possibility as well, not just the gold.
Yeah. So I'm just going to put this up here again, and just, to the audience, if you look at this, are you anywhere along that belt? Are you next to water that, would be affected, that intersects with that belt? If so, this is an issue that affects you as well, not just folks in Buckingham County. But do you feel like people are aware of this? This fight's been going on for a couple of years, or do you think that it's mostly just people in Buckingham who are aware of it at this point?
Well, it's a good question. We do have allies from all over the state, and news does get out there. The Virginia Mercury was reporting on it, but because we're in a bit of a lull right now, it seems like it's really quiet. And I guess that's a concern, because if you snooze, you lose.
Mhm.
We want people to understand the repercussions of what this would mean, and to be prepared, not paranoid, but prepared to stop anything like that happening here. It's not what we want.
Right.
No one has said that this is what they want. We have one, yeah, we have one mining company here in Buckingham County that is afraid that we're going to do something that's going to impact their ability to make money. And they are just wanting us to stop any kind of resistance. But our board of supervisors says none of them want it. Our planning commissioners say none of them want it. It's just a matter of getting them to take some action that will really have teeth.
Mm. Yeah. And so I lost this question because I asked it and then I asked like 3 other questions right after it. But what are sort of what is the strategy to stop this at this point? Do you have a couple different tactics that you're using, or strategies that you're using at this point?
Yes, we definitely encouraged people to attend the meetings for the comp plan, the comprehensive plan for the next 5 years for our county, to get them to make sure that we put into that the restrictions. And as NAS said, there aren't sufficient regulations at this point. They're not saying it's a good idea to do gold mining, but they're definitely saying that we're not ready for it. So we're trying to get people to contact their legislators, to write letters to the editor. And we had a petition. We got 1,000 signatures on a petition that was circulated basically by Virginia Community Rights Network, who partners with Friends of Buckingham, and people saying that no, this is gold mining is not what they want to see happen here. And we presented that to the Board of Supervisors. But I think legislatively, that's probably the strongest move at this point. So to let your legislators know that you're aware of this and what you think of it and what you'd like them to do about it.
Yeah. And like you said, it just seems like it would be such a completely unpopular project across the board, affecting everyone in Virginia, a Canadian company, huge amounts of destruction and poison for a small amount of extraction. I mean, it's shocking. So it does seem like building that popular resistance, just based on what's going on, is very possible. It's just a matter of getting the word out there to folks and continuing to organize. And since you've already learned to do that through your fight against the Atlantic Coast Pipeline, like, this isn't your first rodeo. So they thought, oh, we're not gonna have a problem in this rural area, but little did they know.
Yeah, apparently they weren't paying much attention, because this was known to be a sacrifice zone. It was very well publicized that that was what was happening during the Atlantic Coast Pipeline fight. And then they closed the project down. It did not happen. So for the company that owns the property where the exploratory drilling was going on is Weyerhaeuser, as I said. And of course, they're not headquartered in Virginia. I guess originally they were in the Northwest. Maybe they still are. But they own over 50,000 acres of Buckingham property. They bought up all the forested land that different companies owned previously. And they just came in and bought it all up. So part of what they do, and they advertise they do, is minerals. Not only harvesting the trees, but also harvesting what's beneath the earth. And it's not sustainable, and they don't live here. So the people that live in the neighborhood are the ones who are going to suffer whatever the consequences might be. And the whole state, the whole Commonwealth is our neighborhood with this.
Mm-hmm. Do you see the same coalition coming together for this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, everybody. I can give you a list if you would like to hear some of the names. Appalachian Voices, Piedmont Environmental Council, the Virginia Community Rights Network, the Virginia Conservation Network, Southern Environmental Law Center, Chesapeake Bay Foundation. We have some powerful allies, and we're really grateful for them.
That's really good to hear. Yeah. And I hope that, folks in our network as well, Interfaith Power and Light, people of faith across the state, feel the importance of protecting our resources, stewarding the creation, and also just standing with our frontline neighbors, and that being a moral call that we should always be prepared to answer.
Yes, Vapel was pretty involved with us all along. Kendall Crawford came and was very helpful to us when she was working with you, and we do appreciate the work that you've done. And if you'd like us to sign you up as an ally, love to add the name.
Yeah, I can bring that. So what is the best way that folks listening can help you guys?
Well, I think if they go to the Friends of Buckingham website, they'll see that they can sign up for newsletters, so they'll be kept abreast of the most current events, and they won't be hounded with regular emails. They come out newsletters maybe once a month. If there's something important happening, there may be an extra one thrown in, but it will keep you engaged and educated about what's happening. So I think that's a good place to start.
And that is at the Friends of Buckingham website where you sign up for the newsletter?
Yes.
All right.
You can sign up for that.
There we go. Friends of Buckingham. All right. Is there anything else that you really think people should know or that you want to mention? This has been kind of a brief conversation, a bit of a nutshell. There's a lot more information that folks can dig into, and I can put that, in the links below our videos and so forth. But is there anything that you would just really want people to know before they leave this conversation?
I think we need to recognize that we all would be impacted. That's, it's not just here in Buckingham.
Mm-hmm.
So not only in our state, but it's definitely being done in the West terribly. They're doing a lot of mining there and a lot of destruction. The Hale mine in South Carolina was the one that Aston Bay referenced initially, saying, well, look at this, we could do this. And it's a horrible open pit gash on the earth. And one of our members went there twice to see the town, see, well, how did the town benefit from all of this money coming in, supposedly, and all the workers. And it ended up that the motels were full of out-of-state license plates with the workers, and the town had nothing. The only thing that he could find that they had benefited financially by was they had moved the rescue center into a library space and bought them a laptop computer and taken over their original space for the mining company. So nobody benefited, sadly, except for the big companies who rake in the profits. And then they leave, and then you've got disasters that who's going to pay for those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it tends to be the same story over and over again.
That's right.
But we want to have a similar ending to the last time this story unfolded in this area.
We know it's possible.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your leadership and your just steadfast leadership as challenges keep coming. Really appreciate that. And thanks for coming to inform our network about this a little bit more.
You're welcome. I hope to hear from a lot of people who are interested now.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Thank
Well, have a wonderful day, everyone. And thanks for joining this episode.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.